Hello, students of class 12th. Today I am present with the second chapter, Lost Spring. What to say? In your book Flamingo. I am going to explain to you this chapter line by line. The previous chapter I have given on my YouTube channel, and the second chapter I am again going to publish for you all. As you know it very well that every chapter in your book has a kind of special motivation. In the previous chapter, the last lesson, you have studied the importance of our mother tongue. By the way, the lesson doesn't belong to our country, India. It belongs to France and Germany. But we get a lesson from that lesson too. As French people had respect for their language, they were sorry for being colonized by Germany. In the same way, we must also have respect for our own language, our mother tongue, that's our Hindi. In the previous lesson, you studied about importance of our mother tongue. But in this lesson, we are going to study about the poor state of people in our society. Generally, there is a big difference between the rich and the poor. The rich always suffer from abundance of things because they have so many things to use. And the poor always suffer from scarcity of things because they have nothing to use. What is discarded by the rich, that is welcomed by the poor. The rich person may not use a thing because it has turned old, but the poor person will be curious to use that thing because he has found it anyhow. So such things are there. Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood is a big work, is a major work written by Anish Jung. From that major work of her, some episodes have been collectively given in this lesson. Anish Jung, who was born in 1964, she knew it very well that our society is divided into various strata. It is divided into various standards. After the freedom of our country, which you call independence of our country, there were various kinds of situations, various kinds of differences among the people of our society. The rich, the poor, the middle class, and almost the poor and the middle class were suffering very much. Even today they are suffering, but those days they were suffering beyond limits. Anish Jung, who herself was born in Raurkela and passed many years of her life in Hyderabad, who got her education from both Hyderabad and United States of America, was a very thoughtful, writer. Her parents were also writers, and she also began her career as a writer in our country. Anish Jung was a popular editor of a newspaper. She was a great columnist, popular across our country and across the world. And in this episode, Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood, she is going to discuss on the grinding poverty of some people whose children are destined to work as garbage pickers, whose children are destined to do child labor. So you also see the examples of child labor all around you. You see many children of 10 to 12 years range. They are pulling rickshaw. They are collecting garbage from one colony to another colony. They are moving, in the dirty slums, passages, and they are collecting plastics, discarded bottles, etc. In this way, they are trying to earn some money out of it. So Anish Jung also came across such a group of, minor children. They were also picking rags. They are called rag picker children here. And she is first going to tell us the story of a boy whose name was Sahib-e-Alam. In short, his name is Sahib. Sahib's story belongs to Simapuri, Delhi. Family of Sahib was from Bangladesh, Dhaka. And due to some, crisis, Sahib's family had moved from Dhaka to Simapuri. Now, in Simapuri, they were collecting garbage regularly. And this garbage, out of this garbage, they collected some money. Sometimes Sahab earned 1 rupee, sometimes 2 rupee, and at maximum 10 rupees. So, a situation of Sahab has been explained by Anish Jung here. Now you see, I am going to explain to you line by line. Why do you do this? I asked Sahab, whom I encounter every morning scrounging for gold in the garbage dumps of my neighborhood. Sahab left his home long ago, set amidst the green field of Dhaka. His home is not even a distant memory. There were many storms that swept away their fields and homes. His mother tells him that's why they left, looking for gold in the big city where he now lives. Now you see. Anish Jung came across Sahab. It means once Anish Jung met the boy Sahab, and she wanted to know why he was collecting garbage regularly. In fact, Anish Jung saw him collecting garbage in her neighborhood. So why was he searching for garbage? Why was he collecting garbage, such a kind of menial work? She wanted to know. Sahab left his home long ago. Many years had passed. Sahab had left his home, set amidst the green field of Dhaka. Where was Sahab's home? Sahab's home was located in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And this home was in the middle of green fields. His home is not even a distant memory. By the way, some years have passed, but it's not so many years that you can forget it. There were many storms that swept away their fields and homes, his mother tells him. Now, once upon a time in Dhaka, there was a disastrous storm, and due to that disastrous storm, the home of Sahab was destroyed. They suffered from poverty, and this was the big reason that they left Dhaka and they started looking for gold in the big city where he now lives. Looking for gold in the big city means they started looking for a livelihood in the big city. They knew it very well. If they moved to the big cities like Delhi, so some kind of job they can get there. And if they don't get some kind of job, at least they will be able to collect garbage. They will sell that garbage. In this way, they will earn money. And this was the thing which happened there with Sahab's family. Now you see, I have nothing else to do, he mutters looking away. Go to school? I say gladly, realizing immediately how hollow the advice must sound. Now, Anish Jung suggested Sahab to go to school. She questioned him why he was collecting garbage. Sahab also replied that he was collecting garbage because he had no other choice to do. When she advised him to go to school, she at once realized that it was a useless suggestion from her side. Because a poor boy who was collecting garbage for his daily bread, how could he afford the fee for school? There is no school in my neighborhood. When they build one, I will go. To the question of the writer Anish Jung, Sahab also replied very innocently that there was no school where he lived, and if a school was to be built, he was also ready to go to school. If I start a school, will you come? I asked, half joking. Then the author joked with him, and she questioned him if he was ready to come to her school if she opened a school. Yes, he says, smiling broadly. Sahab here smiled and replied to her in affirmative, saying that he was ready to go to school if she opened a school. A few days later, I see him running up to me, is your school ready? Some days passed there. Sahab came across Anish Jung. He asked her whether her school was ready, whether her school was open. He wanted admission. It takes longer to build a school. I say, embarrassed at having made a promise that was not meant. Anish Jung was troubled now. She didn't know that a rag picker boy, a garbage collector boy, would come and insist on opening the school. She didn't know that the boy would again question her. She was very much troubled when Sahab asked her if her school was open. But promises like mine abound in every corner of his bleak world. But in the deserted world of Sahib-e-Alam, such kind of fake promises are everywhere. Anish Jung tells us here, the poor are always given fake promise. Nobody gives them promise to be kept. Promises are kept among the rich only. If you give promise to a poor person and you don't, keep that promise, what can he do? Can he take any kind of action against you? Nothing. So she started thinking that she had also given Sahib a useless promise, a fake promise. After months of knowing him, I asked him his name. Sahib-e-Alam, he announces. Many months passed. Anish Jung wanted to know what the name this boy had, and this boy replied that his name was Sahib-e-Alam. He doesn't know what it means. If he knew its meaning, Lord of the universe, he would have a hard time believing it. Anish Jung tells us here that Sahib didn't know that his name was quite meaningful. His name, Sahib-e-Alam, stands for Lord of the Universe. He didn't know. Unaware of what his name represents, he roams the streets with his friends, an army of barefoot boys who appear like the morning birds and disappear at noon. Sahib-e-Alam didn't know the meaning of his own name. He used to be in the group of a large number of boys who were barefooted, who were not wearing even slippers. And early morning they used to go for collecting garbage, and at noon they used to disappear. Now you see, so many months had passed. Anish Jung had come to recognize every boy of Sahib-e-Alam's group. Why aren't you wearing chappals? I asked one. One day Anish Jung asked one of the rag picker boys why he was not wearing chappals, that slippers. My mother didn't bring them down from the shelf, he answers simply. Now you see. When she asked a boy why he was not wearing slippers, so he answered that his mother was not bringing his slippers down from the shelf, down from the almirah. There is no reality in his statement, because in reality he did not have a pair of slippers. But he is pretending here. He is telling a lie. And he tells a lie to Anish Jung that his mother did not bring him bring his chappals down from the shelf. Even if she did, he will throw them off, adds another who is wearing shoes that do not match. Another boy was there in the group, and he commented, even if his mother brought them down, he was not going to wear them. This boy who was speaking this one, he himself was wearing different size of shoes. Both the shoes were of different size. They were mismatching. When I comment on it, he shuffles his feet and says, nothing. I want shoes, says a third boy who has never owned a pair all his life. Now you see, Anish Jung now commented. She asked him why he was wearing shoes of different size. He felt shy. Another boy was there in the group. He said he also wanted a pair of shoes because throughout his life he had never found a pair of shoes. Traveling across the country, I have seen children walking barefoot in cities, on village roads. It is not lack of money but a tradition to stay barefoot is one explanation. Anish Jung came across so many boys who were not wearing shoes, who were not wearing chappals. And she tells us here very ironically that it was not the lack of money, it was a tradition to stay barefoot. But what is the reality? Reality was that they were so much poor that they could not afford for a pair of slippers in their whole life. I wonder if this is only an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of poverty. Now, Anish Jung tells us here we can easily avoid the reality of the society. We can say that there is a tradition of not wearing slippers. That will be quite comfortable answer. Because the reality is very hard, it is very bitter. The reality is that because of crucial poverty, because of violent poverty, these people cannot afford a pair of slippers throughout their life. I remember a story, a man from Udupi once told me, as a young boy he would go to school past an old temple where his father was a priest. He would stop briefly at the temple and pray for a pair of shoes. 30 years later I visited his town and the temple which was now drowned in an air of desolation. In the backyard where lived the new priest, there were red and white plastic chairs. A young boy dressed in a grey uniform, wearing socks and shoes, arrived panting and threw his school bag on a folding bed. Looking at the boy, I remembered the prayer another boy had made to the goddess when he had finally got a pair of shoes. Let me never lose them. Now, Anish Jung tells us here, there was a person from, Karnataka. There is a place Udupi there in Karnataka. This person told her a story that his father was a priest in a temple and he had always been praying for a pair of shoes to the goddess. He wanted to get a pair of shoes, but he did not find it. After 30 years, it was found by the narrator that a new priest was there, and the child of the new priest was having a beautiful pair of shoes. He was also having a colorful school bag, beautiful dress, and he had come from school. So such a change was there. And now she remembered what a difference was there between both the priests. One priest was so much poor that his son was begging for a pair of shoes to the goddess. And another priest was rich enough to provide his son colorful shoes, colorful bags, and colorful dresses, etc. But many others, like the rag picker in my neighborhood, remain shoeless. But finally, Anish Jung tells us here that there are many other children like Sahib Alam in her neighborhood who don't have a pair of shoes.